The Black Forest Sector.
The Black Forest Sector.
War leaves behind many things. Graves without names, maps that no longer match the land, numbers that never quite add up. Most of what we know about the Second World War comes from reports, photographs, and testimony that survived censorship and time. But there are gaps, places where the paperwork contradicts itself, where entire units vanish between one line and the next. Historians usually explain these absences as chaos, clerical error, or the simple brutality of war. That explanation works most of the time. This story exists in the space where it does not. In the winter of 1942, along a forgotten stretch of forest west of Rzhev, both Soviet and German records quietly fail. Patrols are listed as deployed but never returned. Radios log transmissions that have no sender. Casualty reports name men who were never found and omit others who unquestionably existed. No battle is recorded there, yet losses accumulate. The Black Forest Sector. War leaves behind many things. Graves without names, maps that no longer match the land, numbers that never quite add up. Most of what we know about the Second World War comes from reports, photographs, and testimony that survived censorship and time. But there are gaps, places where the paperwork contradicts itself, where entire units vanish between one line and the next. Historians usually explain these absences as chaos, clerical error, or the simple brutality of war. That explanation works most of the time. This story exists in the space where it does not. In the winter of 1942, along a forgotten stretch of forest west of Rzhev, both Soviet and German records quietly fail. Patrols are listed as deployed but never returned. Radios log transmissions that have no sender. Casualty reports name men who were never found and omit others who unquestionably existed. No battle is recorded there, yet losses accumulate. The forest itself no longer appears as it once did. Artillery reshaped it. Roads were rerouted. Later, the area was closed without explanation, its original boundaries erased from public maps. What remains is not a place easily visited, but a set of inconsistencies that refuse to align. Officially, nothing unusual happened there. Unofficially, soldiers on both sides learned to avoid that stretch of land. The disappearances. It began without violence. A German patrol failed to return from a routine sweep. No shots were heard, no flares, no radio distress. The loss was attributed to mines or navigation error. 2 nights later, a Soviet supply detail vanished near the same tree line. Their sleds were found intact, rifles stacked as if awaiting inspection. Boots marked the snow, but the tracks ended abruptly, without signs of struggle, blood, or retreat. By the end of the week, both armies had missing men listed in the same grid square. They were not reported killed. They were not reported captured. They were simply listed as lost. Veterans began refusing orders that took them near the forest. Radios crackled with interference when antennas pointed toward it. Compasses drifted several degrees off true north, not wildly, but consistently, as if influenced by something steady and deliberate. Command dismissed the concerns. A reconnaissance unit was assembled. Recon Unit Chetrapad Smith. 12 men, experienced, winter-hardened, chosen specifically because they were considered reliable. They entered the forest at 6:40 under clear skies. Snow lay deep but undisturbed. The mission was simple: sweep the sector, confirm enemy presence, return before nightfall. By noon, the radio operator reported interference, not static, but overlapping signals, as if multiple transmissions were bleeding into one another on the same frequency. At 13:20, the unit leader recorded an observation in his log. Forest sound unnatural. No birds, no wind. Snow not settling on branches. At 14:05, one soldier reported the smell of coal smoke, like an old rail station. There were no buildings marked on the map. Shortly afterward, the forest began to repeat itself. Trees appeared identical in height and damage. Scars in the bark repeated. After 20 minutes of walking, the unit encountered the same fallen log they had marked earlier, the knife cuts still fresh. The radio failed completely. The voices. The first voice was heard at 15:10. A young soldier stopped suddenly, convinced someone had spoken his name from behind. The voice sounded like his mother, using a childhood nickname no one else in the unit knew. Another soldier claimed to hear German speech nearby, not shouted commands, but quiet conversation. The unit split briefly to confirm enemy presence. Only one pair returned. The others did not scream. They did not run. They simply ceased to exist beyond a certain point. The figures. As the light began to fade, faster than expected, the remaining men saw movement between the trees. Human shapes. They wore uniforms, but none that could be identified. No insignia, no national markings. The fabric looked old, heavy, darkened by something thicker than melted snow. Their faces were the most disturbing detail. They were not damaged. They were blank, as if all distinguishing features had been smoothed away, leaving only the suggestion of eyes and mouths. The figures walked toward the soldiers without urgency, without sound. Rifles were raised, shots were fired. According to the survivor, the bullets did not miss. They passed through. Snow erupted behind the figures. The figures did not react. Then the men began to vanish, not violently but abruptly. A soldier would be present one moment, mid-breath, mid-step, and absent the next. No flash, no sound, no trace, only absence. The survivor. One man escaped. He was found at dawn 3 kilometers from the forest edge, barefoot, rifle missing, hands frozen into rigid claws. He could not explain how he had left. During interrogation, he repeated one sentence. "They are not dead. They are standing somewhere else." Pressed for details, he described the final moment. His commanding officer had stopped moving, not frozen, listening. Behind him, the trees had begun to bend inward, not swaying but folding like ribs closing over a chest. The survivor ran. He does not remember running. Aftermath. The incident was officially recorded as a loss due to artillery fire and extreme weather. The sector was shelled continuously for 2 days until the forest was reduced to splinters and craters. It made no difference. Post-war German archives later revealed an identical report. Same grid, same day, same number of missing men. One German survivor had written, "The forest is not a place, it is a boundary." In the 1960s, the area was sealed without explanation. No memorials were erected, no markers placed. Locals say that in winter fog, shapes can still be seen standing where the trees once were. They are not moving. They are waiting. Conclusion. History prefers clean endings. Victories, defeats, dates, and borders can be archived and taught. What cannot be resolved is usually labeled error, superstition, or trauma, and quietly set aside. The Black Forest sector was set aside. No document ever acknowledged what happened there, yet no commander sent men back once the pattern became clear. The forest was erased first from reports, then from maps, then from memory. Those who survived did not demand answers. They did not seek recognition. Most never spoke again. A few tried and were dismissed, institutionalized, or learned silence, because nothing was defeated there. Whatever existed in that forest did not advance, retreat, or pursue. It remained, patient, indifferent to sides or uniforms. The war passed over it like weather, loud, violent, temporary. Even now, the numbers do not align. Units remain unaccounted for. Reports reference engagements that never occurred. And in the margins of those files, in handwriting that does not match the rest, are notes that simply say, "Do not return." Perhaps the truth was never reached because to acknowledge it would require admitting that, even in a war defined by total destruction, there were places where humanity was not the main participant. The forest was not a battlefield. It was a boundary. And some boundaries, once crossed, were never meant to be explained.